A few reminders. First of all, we are we're let us now is ever unfailing in our this faith that the
Be seated. And peace. And share. That touch. Love. And all of compassion. How beautiful. The fields are to be of hungry and less love. If you love those who love you, what that to you? Even to sinners, expect
this grandson, one of our ushers, and Joy. And first responders in our prayers. That they make just decisions for all. She wants to thank everybody. I believe it was his, I'm not sure if his wife Her numbers were low and they were headed for your prayers. You took time to do that. On all about today. So let's go before the altar. Lord, that you move to us. At this we lift up people with needs, those challenging situations. Even around Lord, and your people. And help us, Lord, to get past all this stuff. To be invitation. And we've been continuing fruit that Jesus produced. Helping us to become more like the world. Making it sure this reading this morning is going to be for we're going to follow the leading of the Holy Spirit since we're that's what I feel led to do. With lots of different people. Lots of different things. There's a lot of gods. So he knows the loosely. And for the most all directs believers whose brand was on. Is what Paul's directing us to do. Sometimes people will say nice things and you're unable for the reading of God. Come out of your mouths. For the day of redemption. Each other just people of God. But examine inside of us, Jesus to be real, authentic. Live and I pray so I decrease, Lord, so your word so Paul what you say. And Jesus would use. Think of that would directly or what you would say to someone use encouraging, lifting. In fact, make sure your word the community, the church, focusing on the other person's needs, not for this particular. There's a lot there. Is what I'm saying to keep my mouth shut? It's in a whole different category, really. When you're speaking, that you're not just trying to make but you're really that the Spirit, you are God's property. Is God's children. Because of Jesus, to show people Jesus represented as children. By wounding life to do. Words be kind. The way God am I out there? Moving him. Example. That even nailed him to that cross. And many of those that even said, crucify. And what he's telling them to Jesus healed people new life through his word. Can we receive rest? words can heal, and our words once our words you hit that send button on that email, this is gone. Wound. That's what we need to remember. We will be accountable. Express we're saved by the blood of Christ, by faith, but we still will have to give. That when we express right? Anger that builds resentments, but builds walls. Yeah, whatever, and then we take it out on some. It boils over. And sometimes it's verbal violence, which is equally core souls, spirits, and beings. Give Satan a foothold. Your heart and your life. Always directs us to love. Love God, love others. That's coming from the other side. So to question those voices, and that means change our hearts. Make a new start. Be quick to listen and slow to speak. It's impossible. Fifth, the way God does with us. I feel sick. Something, how can I help you? What can I do? It moves me to do something. The church. Resolving the conflict as Matthew tells us, going directly to the person, not somebody else. Resolving that conflict. And sometimes I'm not reading things right. Imagine that. I read that text wrong. Texts, you can miscommunicate a lot of things. What we think we see is not what we hear. Emails included and other kinds of posting things. Go to the person. The way God has forgiven me, that's the trump card. It's hard, I know. It's been hard for me. It's been hard for Velma in situations we've been in. But what always comes back to me through the Holy Spirit is, how much have I been forgiven? I've been forgiven a bunch. So I have to get to the place where I can forgive. Forgiveness also requires to forgive those when I've done nothing wrong and we've done nothing wrong, the way Jesus forgives. Forgiveness requires to forgive those who oppose us. It also, you cannot separate kindness from loving kindness, which is grace. With people who we disagree with, who have different positions on issues, politics, and life, and we don't need to cancel out. And we can still love and show compassion and mercy to and care for. Responding people with the same loving kindness that we receive from God by what we say and do. Corrie ten Boom. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of her. She and her sister were in a German concentration camp, going through what we can't even fathom. I know I cannot. In 1947, she was in Germany, imagine that, and she was giving a speech on forgiveness, God's forgiveness, and telling that God cancels out all sins through Jesus. Every sin, no matter how horrible. And as she was finishing her talk, she looked down in the room and to see a people, and the insides of her started to shake. As she saw a man who was a guard in the very camp that she was in with her sister. And she thought, surely he would not remember me. And as she finished her talk, he made his way through that sea of people to her. And she continued to shake inside her as every trauma and every memory of that time came into her. And he came up to her and said, Fraulein, that was a beautiful talk on God's forgiveness. But I need to ask you, does God really cancel out every sin? You see, I don't know if you remember me, but I was a guard with you in that concentration camp. And I did a lot of horrible, horrible things. But since then, I have become a Christian. I've given my life to Jesus Christ, and I'm told Jesus has forgiven me. But I need to ask you, does God forgive me? Do you forgive me? And she said, in a moment, shaking with everything she had inside, she prayed to God. She prayed to Jesus. Jesus, only you can do this in me. At least you can help me lift up my hand to take his hand. And as she did that, she looked into his eyes and said, brother, I forgive you, and so does God. And they held on to each other's hands for what seemed eternity as tears streamed down both their eyes. With God, all things are possible. Human kindness is possible in this world. Jesus will heal your wounds. So if you're carrying a bitterness, resentment, and anger of any shape and form today, as we come to the communion, bring it to Jesus and lay it there. Jesus will give you new life. He'll lift that weight off you. He'll enable you to go through this world and through this life lighter than ever before. And Jesus speaks and gives new life through you. So this week, maybe today, Speak a word of life to somebody else. Maybe it's someone in your very own home or family. Maybe it's somebody in this church. Maybe it's someone in your neighborhood. Maybe it's someone you're going to run into this week. Show kindness to someone by something you do. Maybe something so insignificant, but something that makes the difference of a mountain in somebody's day. Show people how God enables us to show human kindness. Turn to communion. I'm going to talk really loud. Can you all hear me? us continue to dwell, be filled, and resound in God's loving kindness. And let we share this gift with everyone we go. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.